Hey everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. Today, I wanted to continue looking at more spoilers from Aetherdrift and also go over some cards that I didn't get a chance to in the last video because to be honest, I spent way too much time editing the video and I didn't have time, so I ended up cutting a lot of the cards I was planning on talking about. So today, that's why we're doing this a little bit more casual style video. Not a whole lot of editing involved. So I'm just looking at the spoilers on Magic Spoiler website. I am not affiliated with the website. I'm just using it. So ignore all the advertisement and whatever else. And let's just get started. So I never really got a chance to talk about the lands in the last video, so I'm going to do that now. You see Bleachbone Verge up right now, but we're getting all the enemy color Verge lands, so that's big. We're getting all 10 Verge lands, so that's going to enable a lot of other decks. I have the Orzhov version out because that's the color I like, but I'm thinking maybe Golgari is the big one, though it is falling out of favor right now in standard, so I'm not sure. But either way, this is pretty big. Probably going to be the best cards to come out from the set. Alternate art looks pretty cool, but yeah. Next we have Raganda Raceway. I think I'm saying that right. So it's a land. It comes in untapped, which is great. It has start your engines, it taps for colorless, and then if you have max speed, it taps for 2 colorless. So there's been a few Raceway lands that were spoiled. I think this is the best one out of them. They all tap for colorless and they all have start your engines. And I think it's a great way to, I guess, get your speed rolling. If your deck is reliant on achieving max speed as early as possible, these lands might be an option for you. Though tapping for colorless might be a bit of a restraint depending on what type of deck you're going for. Next, we're looking at Pyrewood Gearhulk. I guess there's going to be a cycle of Gearhulk creatures, but I don't know how many we're getting. But out of the ones that have been spoiled so far, this is my favorite. It's 6 mana, 2 red, and 2 green for a 7/7 artifact creature construct. It has Vigilance, Menace, and when this creature enters, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain Vigilance and Menace until end of turn. Damage can't be prevented this turn. So it's kind of like a mini Crater Hoof, if you will. It pumps up all your creatures. It doesn't give them haste, but it does give them Vigilance and Menace. Menace being kind of the important part because it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for your opponents to block all your creatures. And yeah, most likely when you play this card, you're playing it to end the game. So, do I think this is like a great card that's going to see a lot of competitive play? No, not really. This is just kind of like my inner Timmy getting excited for a big creature that comes in and does big things when it hits the battlefield. That's all. Though I could be wrong. Maybe this is a better creature than I give it credit for. We'll see. Next, we have a second Planeswalker from the set, Chandra Spark Hunter. 3 in a red for a legendary Planeswalker, Chandra. Comes in with 4 loyalty counters. She has a static ability that says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target vehicle you control. Until end of turn, it becomes an artifact creature and gains haste. So has some vehicle synergy there. The +2 says, you may sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So maybe not specifically vehicle synergy, but artifact synergy. Her next ability for 0, create a 3/2 colorless vehicle artifact token with crew 1. So she creates her own vehicles. That's awesome. You don't actually need to play a whole bunch of vehicles in her deck to utilize her static ability. Then her final ability, the -7, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact you control enters, this emblem deals 3 damage to any target. I don't know. The more I look at this card, the more I think this is a great Planeswalker. She can trigger her own emblem or I'm assuming you're gonna be playing a lot of artifacts in whatever deck you put her in, so once you get that emblem, it's probably going to be game over for your opponent. Anyway, next we have Aetherdrift Godseeker. It's a 2-mana 5/3 legendary creature god. Aetherdrift has Indestructible and Haste, also has Start Your Engines, and for 1 in a tap, target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. Aetherdrift can't attack or block unless you have max speed. So chances are you are not going to be attacking in on turn 2. I think the earliest you can have max speed is probably turn 4. Plus you can make one of your creatures unblockable on the turn that Aetherdrift comes into play. And I'm pretty sure you can pump up your creature after you target the creature and still have it be unblockable. So I think this fits right into like the mono red, the mice and whatever else pump spell deck that you have. So depending on what other like red cards that enable Start Your Engines, this could be a pretty good card in the mono red deck. Also, the alternate art looks pretty cool. Next, we have the 4-mana artifact Cursed Cloth Wrapping. It's a 2 and 2 black. It says zombies you control get +1/+1, and then when you tap, target creature card in your graveyard gains Embalm until end of turn. The Embalm cost is equal to its mana cost. So this is a great way to recur creatures. It's not quite reanimation because you still have to pay the mana cost for the creature, but it's kind of like you get to recycle your creatures, and the artifact pumps up your creature. And since it's not legendary, you could have multiples of the artifact to like pump up all your zombies quite a bit. But it is 4 mana, which might be a little bit too slow. But still, I think we'll see some play with this artifact. Also, that alternate art. If you're thirsty for a mummy anime chick, this card's for you. Anyways, next we have Full Throttle, a 6-mana sorcery, which is quite a bit, but says after this main phase, there are 2 additional combat phases. At the beginning of each combat, this turn, untap all creatures that attack this turn. So this is pretty cool. You can play this pretty much either on your first main phase or your second main phase, and you'll still get 3 combat phases out of it. I'm pretty sure you can attack in on your first combat phase, and then on your second main phase, you just play this card. It'll untap all your creatures in the next combat phase, and yeah. But your creatures have to attack in to be untapped. So if your opponent taps one of your creatures before your first combat phase, they're not going to be untapped, which is actually kind of a smart way of designing this card. Though honestly, I think 6 mana is too much for what I assume would be in an aggressive deck, so I don't know if this is going to see much play, but sounds like it'll be a blast if you can get it to work. Next, we have Momentum Breaker. It's a 2-mana enchantment that says Start Your Engines, and then when this enchantment enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature or vehicle of their choice. Each opponent who can't discards a card. And then for 2, sacrifice this enchantment, you gain life equal to your speed. I kind of like this card design. It'll definitely replace Tithing Blade in those pixie bounce decks. I don't know what they're called. This card would rarely be a dead card in your hand, because even if your opponent doesn't play creatures, you can still play this to make them discard. So it's removal / discard depending on the situation. So yeah, I really like the design on this card. Another card that can help you start your engines is Hour of Victory. It's a 3-mana enchantment, 2 and a black. So it has Start Your Engines, and when this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And then when you have max speed, pay 1 and a black, sacrifice this enchantment, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Activate only as sorcery. So it's a lot like that black case that creates the suspected skeleton. I forget what it was called, but it's kind of similar to that. but instead of 2 mana, it's 3 mana. I don't know. Is it easier to solve the case than to achieve max speed? That's kind of hard to tell right now, but I think the skeleton case is probably better, but at least this creates a token that can block, and depending on how easy it is to get max speed, maybe its tutor ability is easier to achieve as well. Definitely a card to keep an eye on. Next we have the Boom Scholar. It's 3 mana, 3/3 Goblin Advisor. It says exhaust abilities of other permanents you control cost 2 less to activate. And then it has its own exhaust ability of 4, a red and a green, so 6 mana total. Creatures and vehicles you control gain trample until end of turn. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature. So I was thinking about this creature. I don't think it's that great. 3 mana, 3/3, and really expensive exhaust ability. It doesn't reduce the cost of its own ability, so you'd have to build around it, have a bunch of creatures with exhaust abilities. So it really depends on what kind of exhaust abilities is available in the Gruul colors. We already saw one, Redshift, that has that 12 mana exhaust ability, so you can reduce it down to 10. But overall, yeah, I'm not sure. Though I was thinking you could build a like Cauldron deck, have Agatha's Cauldron as well as Agatha in the deck. Agatha reduces the cost of activated abilities, so maybe there's a bunch of expensive exhaust abilities and you can find a way to not only make them cheaper, but also using the Cauldron to continue giving all your creatures different exhaust abilities, right? I don't know. There might be something there. It's still too early to tell if it's going to be any good or not, but it sounds like a really fun, crazy deck to try and build. And finally, we have March of the World Ooze. So it's a 6 mana enchantment, 3 and 3 green. It says creatures you control have base power and toughness 6/6 and are oozes in addition to their other types. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it's not their turn, you create a 3/3 green elephant creature token. So I feel like I feel like this card could go into some sort of like a green +1/+1 counter synergistic deck where you have these little creatures, but you're pumping it up with +1/+1 counters. And then when you play this, all of a sudden they're just like way bigger than before and you just attack in for a billion. I don't know. Seems kind of fun to me. I'll probably build a few decks based around this card. Also to note, the 3/3 green elephant that this creates, I'm pretty sure also becomes a 6/6 while this enchantment is out on the battlefield. So anytime your opponent plays a spell during your turn, you make 6/6 green elephant oozes. And that's all the cards I wanted to talk about today. If you stuck around to listen to all of that, thank you very much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully I can get this video out pretty early. There shouldn't be too much editing I need to do. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Check out my Patreon. Leave a comment letting me know what you think. And that's all I have for today. So thank you very much. Remember, have fun playing Magic, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.